Last night, we did a segment on identity-only politics versus identity plus class. And, to my dismay, this narrative is still going. I mean, of course, no matter what we do, this is going to be a continuous uphill battle that we have to fight every single day. And it's important that we fight it because you can't thoroughly discuss the problems of race in America without discussing the problems of the absence of wealth in the black community. You can't discuss race without discussing class, not adequately. You can't discuss the different problems in different segments of society unless you talk about the class element. Likewise, you can't talk about class unless you talk about race. You've got that. We have an uphill battle because this narrative is so juicy. This narrative is so rich, and they can get clicks galore off of this divide in the Democratic Party, and that's quite literally what people are doing. Even people who I think mean well. Some people I follow on Twitter I think mean well generally, and they're sincere about the push for social justice and the plight of African Americans. I think they mean well, and I just think that they're missing the forest for the trees. All that to say, we've got to master both sides. You listening. White progressives, black progressives, every ethnicity, every race, every religion, we have to master both sides masterfully. We need to be conversant on race, identity, as well as class. If you've mastered race, and I'm going to use that word loosely, but if you've mastered the conversation about identity, then we need you to be the voice on class. Figure out your voice, figure out your position, figure out how you can argue the necessity for us to address the greatest intersection, the greatest identity in America, which is class and poverty, the working class. And how can we undo this desire to paint the working class as only being white, as if there are no black or Latino working class members? So if you're mastered race, master class. If you are a socialist or whatever variation thereof, Marxist, whatever, and you've mastered the conversation about class, we need you, especially if you're white, to be not the spokesperson, but to be very conversant, very informed, very intelligent, and be able to deliver why it's necessary for us to discuss identity, specifically race. If you're cis, be able to be conversant on gender identities. Be able to identify. We don't need anybody to run out and be the spokesperson, right? Let's put that out first. We don't need men to go and be the spokespeople for feminism. We don't. We just need you to understand enough not to fall into the pitfalls and the traps that people like, started to name some people, like those people have set for us. We got to master all the above. We need to set the example, the model of how we do both and. Which led me to, I'm always trying to see how do I reduce things to, how do I make things very simple? How do I make things very plain? Because sometimes we make things too complicated. And right now, it seems like I really just thought, and it didn't take me long, right? And I always want to bring back up what one of our regular callers, Umar, says, keep it simple. How do we clearly, concisely, and quickly convey, sorry for the alliteration, the message of why identity-only politics doesn't work? So that led me to a survey this morning, and I didn't intend for it to get this many results, but it did. And I want to share some of the results of the survey that I threw out there this morning on your screen. I gave some examples. Example number 1, an intersectional black progressive CEO outsourced your job and now you're homeless. Do you think A, it's okay because they're black? B, they'd be a good president? C, I just should have worked harder? Or D, identity only isn't enough? Out of that survey, 1,700 people, almost 1,800 people participated. And clearly the answer is D, identity only is not enough. There's still some time, if you're listening, for you to go and participate in that survey. Second question. The questions are more important than anything else than how many people participated. A woman of color oversees the implementation of stop and frisk and leads to draconian crackdowns on communities of color. Do you think, A, it's okay because she's a person of color? Or do you think I like my oppressors to be people of color? C, I should address better respectability politics. Or D, identity only is not enough. Clearly, identity only is not enough. Do we really give a pass to someone who is hurting our community just because they're a person of color? Because if you don't do that, then you clearly understand that identity only politics is not enough. Two more and then we're out of here. An LGBTQ CEO dumps toxic waste on native tribal lands. Do you think, oh, the LGBT CEO is oppressed? It's just tribal lands. This is the price of progress, or identity only isn't enough. You do not get a pass for doing shitty stuff to people simply because you have an identity that has been oppressed. I repeat, you do not get a pass for doing shitty things to people simply because your identity has been one that has been historically oppressed. Identity politics only is not enough. Last but not least, my favorite, a queer person of color carries out daily dronings in Muslim nations. Do you think, hey, we've made progress? B, droning must be okay now because it's a queer person of color doing it. D, or C rather, like someone said on Twitter, if you're mad, go start a charity, go start a foundation. Or D, identity politics only is not enough. Clearly, identity politics is not enough. Identity politics is necessary. Anybody in my audience who doesn't think it's necessary and you think I'm full of shit because I say it's necessary, you should not be in my audience. Unless you're a sadist and you just like to punish yourself. You should not be in my, because identity is important. It is a part of our lives that we cannot separate, and we should not separate it. But it's not enough. I do not want a CEO who is outsourcing working class jobs or professional class jobs and he get a pat on the back because he's a black man. Hell no. I do not, we should not give a pass to people and say that they are progressive simply because they have an identity that has been historically oppressed. Sometimes the people who have been historically oppressed are the greatest tools for oppression.
The Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.thebenjamindixonshow.com to register for our blog, join the Progressive Army, and support The Benjamin Dixon Show. It's Ben Dixon! If you like this episode, be sure to share, like, and subscribe.
Consider becoming a Patreon. Go to www.patreon.com/The BPD Show and support The Benjamin Dixon Show.